Greetings. Well, in this episode, I would like to share with you how your anger can block your inner peace. You know, when we're born, we're very much like a blank slate because we haven't had experiences yet to create our thinking, our emotions. And just as we're a blank slate, our thoughts are also in neutral position. Our thoughts are not positive, they're not negative, because we really haven't had experiences yet. But believe it or not, touch and sound can impact creation of feelings. For example, how are you held? Are you held in a loving manner? Who is talking to you? How are they talking to you? Whose eyes are you gazing into when your diaper is changed? For example, a parent, a sibling, caregiver, what? So, whether it's going from infant to toddler to preschool and beyond, all of those experiences are creating feelings, emotions, which in turn create our thinking, our thoughts. And I think there are two key underlying dynamics that pave the way, big time, for how we think and how we feel. And they are one, do you feel respected? And two, do you feel abandoned? Now, for me, in my childhood, I experienced both. When my mom was alive, I had the most idyllic childhood. I mean, it was fabulous. My mother was an incredible seamstress, and she made matching mother daughter dresses, outfits, matching hair bows. And I remember the grape jelly and butter sandwiches she made for me every morning, and how she pushed me onto the swing set. But you see, no one ever told me of her pending death. Now, as a toddler, you know, we are smarter than most people think we are. And I'm sure I was wondering, why is she wearing robes all the time? Why are there so many people coming to see her? And when she died, where did she go? I remember coming back from the funeral, looking underneath my bed, looking in the closet. I was abandoned. She died 1 month before I turned 6. From that point on, unconditional love never existed in my life. And then there was my dad. My dad showed no respect for any belief or idea or goal that I had. And where I remember that vividly happening was when I was 16. Now, I come from a Christian background. When Mr. Turlington, in his World History Unit, introduced the idea of reincarnation, that was my first time to hear of such a concept. And the more I thought about it, and the more I analyzed it, I thought, huh, that possibly is a really very good idea, because how could we really get all of our lessons in one lifetime? I didn't think that was possible. At dinner time, now this is where, even though my stepmother and my dad remarried when I was 9, and it was truly an ugly stepmother experience. She never smiled. Well, I can't say never smiled. She rarely smiled. Had a prune looking face, and it was not the best. But she did try to get conversation going at the dinner table. Invariably, all we heard were silverware hitting the china. That was it. So I thought, all right, you know what? I am going to be bold. I am going to bring up my idea. I am going to break the silence. So at dinner time, I said, in high school, we're having this really cool unit on world religions. And Mr. Turlington introduced us to the idea of reincarnation. And it's really pretty cool. I mean, I just think it's a great idea because how can we really get our lessons in one lifetime? I could barely elaborate my thoughts further when my dad slammed his hands on the kitchen table and said, "Where did you get that idea? Did you get that idea from your friend up the street?" Now, I'm here to tell you, my friend up the street graduated from my high school class as valedictorian. So the friends that I was running around with were all A types. We were all A types. And then, for whatever reason, St. Louis had this graduating sequence. You would either graduate in January or June. And I was in the January mix. Well, I wanted to start college in September like everybody does. My dad wouldn't hear of it. Absolutely not. If you don't go now, you'll never go to college. Hello? I was an A type. I would have gone to college no matter what. Then, when I wanted to major in journalism, absolutely not. The only fields for women are teaching and nursing, and that's it, period. Well, I knew I couldn't do nursing because try as I might, I would try to put my mind over what was happening, and I would say to myself, now in high school, I was known as Judy. That was my nickname. So I said, okay, Judy, you are going to watch this movie on the heart, and you're not going to pass out. You're not going to put your head down on the desk. You are going to see it through. No matter how often I put those thoughts into my thinking, invariably my head went down the desk. So I knew nursing was out. Education it was. Now, while I went into education, kicking and screaming, I'm here to tell you, I love it. I mean, when I was teaching high school and I individualized the learning programs, I thoroughly loved the creative process, creating activities to facilitate the fact that everyone learns differently and you can express your understanding differently. I love that. Now, but again, I wasn't respected. And see, with my former husband, now in my book, Past Life DNA, an incredible journey from anger to forgiveness, I describe Joe as being one of a family of 9. His family was actually larger. And I'm sure when it came to the touch, the sound sequence, there was comparisons. His family was very competitive. Very competitive. Well, I'm sure I don't measure up athletic-wise. I don't measure up with intelligent-wise. Look at what they score on SATs. And like, for example, when our son John was going to read to us the book Opposites, up, down, stop, go, when he finished the book, not only did he receive undivided attention, but he was praised. John, that was so fabulous. Yay. But I'm going to put money on the table that Joe rarely received that kind of one-on-one attention because there were so many kids. There were so many kids. The likelihood of not just Joe and I receiving unconditional love, that's pretty much the case for almost everyone. What happens then is the replay of all of those hurts and wounds. Why can't they pay attention to me? Why am I never respected? Why can't I do this? Why can't my goals be appreciated? Negative, negative, negative. Those negative thoughts, those negative emotions get transferred over to your mind. Your mind then converts those over to your brain. Your brain sends that negative energy, which is in the form of cortisol, throughout your entire body. And what cortisol does is it creates worry, anxiety, and it impedes your ability to be decisive, your ability to be bold, your ability to think outside the box. Because you're always second guessing. Well, I better not do that because I'm going to be criticized. That's never going to work. And so your negative thinking gains traction. Now, I don't know if you know this, but in the course of one day, just one day, you can have as many as 65 to 67,000 thoughts that flow through your mind. What you also might not know is that between 90 and 95% of those thoughts are all negative because you're replaying all of those negative feelings. And while you might have a moment, a blip, if you will, oh, you know what, that's a really good idea. I think I'll try that. It gets squished because your negative thinking says, you know what, I better not do that because if it fails, it's just going to reinforce that I'm not worth anything, that I'm a disappointment. So what happens is your anger gets stronger. And when there's anger, you can't be compassionate. When you're angry, you're not centered and grounded in peace. The greatest likelihood is that you're going to be judgmental. Who do they think they are? They're not that good. Very judgmental. And also, there's a really good chance that you're not going to be using what I call love language. There are going to be a lot of F-bombs, a lot of use of crude forms of negative language. And why do those F-bombs happen? Because you're angry. You're angry. Now, I am hoping that you are recognizing that anger is a negative impact on your life. And, well, for example, in Charles Dickens' book, The Tale of Two Cities, the opening line is, "These were the worst of times, these were the best of times." When you look at your life, how do you see it? Is it the best of times or the worst of times? Believe it or not, your thoughts, your negative thinking is creating your life. Your thoughts are powerful. Now, if this awareness wasn't a part of your mindset before this episode, I hope it is now. And the millisecond you have a negative thought, oh, this will never work, ask yourself, is this thought good for my life? Is this thought good for my day? Is this thought going to move my life forward? Ask yourself and kick your negative thought to the curb. Because in life, we always have choices. And awareness, the only way you can bring about change is when you're aware of what's going on. So if you have not been aware of your thoughts up until now, I sincerely hope you begin the process and recognize the impact your negative thoughts are having. Now, know this. You're awesome. You are the best. And no one, and I mean no one, comes any finer than you. And that is the truth. Now, in this next episode, I want to be sharing with you how all of those put downs that you received, You're such a disappointment. You will never amount to anything. You are stupid. You are lazy. I'm going to be sharing with you how you are not any of those put downs and why. So stay tuned. And until we do, be blessed.